It is 2 o'clock. I'm Zach Merchant, and we are following breaking news developing right now. Just in the last few minutes, we have learned that the FBI has executed a search warrant at the headquarters of the nation's second largest public school district. That is the Los Angeles Unified School District. FBI agents also executing a search warrant on the superintendent of that district. We want to take you right now to KNBC's coverage. Our Los Angeles station has more on this developing story.
Out of San Pedro, I'm Michelle Valles.
I'm Agent Arambula. Law enforcement officers served a search warrant Wednesday morning at the home and office of LAUSD Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. This is according to multiple law enforcement services. The Justice Department confirmed that the search was being carried out.
That's right. We have a live picture right now of that home in San Pedro here. This is News Chopper 4, the only crews right there in the air and on the ground. Now, NBC4 Investigates got the information, and we can confirm right now there are searches happening at this home. Reportedly, Alberto Carvalho's home, that is the LAUSD superintendent. This is in San Pedro. Details about the search not immediately available, but we do know there are possible searches happening as well at the LAUSD headquarters. So agents have been spotted there on the ground going into this home as well.
Okay, so the exact details about the search warrant have not been revealed just yet. The affidavit in support of the searches is under seal, according to authorities. Now, from the air, we have not seen any FBI or law enforcement agents entering the home, but we do have a crew on the ground as well, and they tell us that they did see law enforcement, in fact, enter the home, and we'll be working to see what they may have found inside that home as this story continues to develop. Carvalho has been the chief of the nation's second largest school district since February of 2022, unanimously reappointed by the school board last year.
Yeah, alarming breaking news coming to our crews this morning, hearing that there are now a search warrant being served there at LAUSD, the superintendent's home there in San Pedro. Again, as Adrian has been mentioning, these are sealed search warrants. So what this investigation is about or related to, we do not know exactly what federal agents could be seeking here.
Yeah, the breaking news this morning, search warrants being served at the home and office of LAUSD Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. Stay with us. We'll have the latest for you on air on our website, NBCLA.com, and our NBC4 app.
So this story continuing to develop. We are continuing to monitor. We're going to keep you abreast of all the developments throughout the next few hours here. And if we hear more from authorities in Los Angeles, we're going to bring you to that live as it develops. A little bit more background before we shift gears here. You heard mention both from me and our friends at NBC LA that this is the second largest public school district in the nation. The LAUSD, the Unified School District, serves more than 500,000 students, 500,000 students in the district. The superintendent, Alberto Carvalho, joined LAUSD in February of 2022. Before that, he oversaw the Miami-Dade County public school system. A member of the public relations team for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles has confirmed on the record to the Associated Press that the search both at the home of the superintendent and the headquarters of the Los Angeles Unified School District did in fact take place today. As our team in NBC LA mentioned, the nature of the investigation still not yet made public. So far, both the district and the superintendent have not commented on the searches. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, her office said it had no information about the search and noted that the district operates independently from city government. That's the latest as we have confirmed right now on the developments in Los Angeles. An FBI search underway, or at least took place earlier today, recently, of both the Los Angeles Unified School District headquarters and its superintendent. We're going to keep you on top of all the developments here as it plays out in the next few hours. But we do want to turn now to something a little closer to home. Our Danielle Moss, meteorologist Danielle Moss, joining us now with a look at what I think is some sunny weather here in our neck of the woods.
Yes, we are definitely dry right now, but changes are on the way, Zach. Good news is no severe weather is expected, but we will be tracking some rain showers for the rest of this work week, and then we'll dry back out for this weekend, so that's good news. Here's a look outside. It is absolutely kind of gloomy, but kind of gorgeous as well. I love when the clouds are really pretty and kind of mysterious out there. This is looking to Noonan, a wonderful shot there. And then even closer to home, here at our Northside Hospital camera, it is a nice cloudy day, but rain is on the way. You can tell from the clouds right there. Temperatures currently warm. It's 61 degrees here in Metro Atlanta, 55 in Dallas, Georgia, and 54 over in Carrollton, 61 degrees over into East and DeKalb County. So honestly, our temperatures are still prevailing, even with all that cloud cover. And over the next 4 hours, we're still going to be staying to the 60s. It's going to be a nice warm wrap up to the day. Let's time out this rain. What can you expect? Overnight tonight, we could be seeing a few isolated showers. We're not going to get any really heavy downpours. It's really Thursday that we're going to start to see that heavy rain moving into our area. And even on Thursday, those high temperatures are going to be warmer. So we are tracking rain, but it's still going to be into the mid 60s here for the end of the week wrap up. Let's time out Thursday's rain, because I know everybody wants to know, what do we need to do? How do we need to plan? Thursday morning, definitely seeing some heavy rain showers in North Georgia. And then as we continue to advance by lunchtime on Thursday, really heavy rain, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. Severe weather is not expected, but it's definitely going to be one of those days where you're going to make sure that you have our 24/7 radar loop on repeat. So you're watching that rain as it develops, because some of the rain could linger into your Thursday evening commute. We're not going to be seeing it as a really cold rain, but it's still going to be chilly outside. So you want to make sure that you have at least a raincoat. Definitely want to have your umbrella, because it will be heavy at times. Now, throughout the overnight hours going into your Friday, a lot of the heavy rain will be staying south of here, really towards Macon and going towards Augusta. And we could see some scattered to isolated showers throughout the early morning hours on Friday. But by the time we head into Friday night, we'll be drying out, and that cloud cover should be moving out. Now, I will say that there could be an isolated shower early Saturday morning, but then we start to see some more clearing happening. As you take a quick look at your 3-day forecast, our temperatures will be climbing back into the upper 60s on Saturday. So while there's maybe a 10% chance for some early morning stray showers on Saturday, we'll still be into the 60s, so it's going to be a good day this weekend. Here's something else that's very interesting. Our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook that we're looking at right now shows a warming trend once again. And not only does it show it for here in Georgia, but we're seeing it across most of the country for the next 6 to 10 days. And I will say that even looking further out than that, like 8 to 14 days, it looks like these warmer temperatures could be sticking around for some time, which is good. Get us out of the cold sector, back into the warmth. And as you take a look at your 7-day forecast, this is a good one. We are tracking some rain showers, but you can see we're starting to get a little bit regulated on those temperatures, hanging out into the mid 60s. So we're not looking at any really huge cold snaps in the next 7 days, even as we're tracking rain showers, Zach.
You know, that is looking awful spring-like after we get through a little bit of the rain the next couple days.
Yes.
Are we there, Danielle? Have we turned the corner out of winter yet?
I think we're definitely peering our head around the corner.
We're peeking
yes.
at the spring.
Exactly.
That was a very diplomatic answer and a good one. Danielle Moss, as always, we appreciate it.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. We'll see you back here in a little bit. We're going to turn now to this, a story that we continue to cover right alongside of you. We are watching right alongside of you, and we will be gavel to gavel. You're looking live into proceedings taking place right now inside of Barrow County Superior Court, where the trial of Colin Gray continues. Colin Gray is the father of Colt Gray, the accused Appalachia high school shooter. It is now day 8 of testimony in this criminal trial. Jurors have heard 8 days of witnesses on the stand and evidence being presented. Here's some of the background of this case. Colin Gray is charged with 29 counts, including 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. What you're seeing right now on your screen is an interview between a Barrow County Sheriff's Office investigator and Colin Gray. Of those charges, of those counts Gray faces, which include 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, Gray has pleaded not guilty to all of them, as has Colt Gray, his son, to the charges that he faces. Colin, the first of the pair to see the inside of a courtroom for a trial. The state's theory in this case, at bottom, relies on their allegation that they say Colin Gray bears some criminal responsibility for providing his son access to the firearm that was allegedly used in the shooting. The state has been presenting its case for the last 8 days. At some point, they will rest their case and the defense will take their turn. Ultimately, it will be up to the jurors who are listening into all of this to determine whether the state has it right that Colin Gray bears criminal responsibility or that he does not. This is a case of first impression, legal experts say. It's the first time a Georgia jury has heard a case or prosecutors have brought charges against not just the accused school shooter, but the parent of an accused school shooter. A lot of questions, factual and legal, swirling inside this courtroom. Jurors will be the ultimate answerer of those questions, at least at the trial court level. At this point, we want to bring in our Molly Oak, who joins us now live inside the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. And Molly, you have been following along these proceedings all day long. We're on day 8 of testimony. And today, it appears as though jurors have been hearing a lot from this interview between a law enforcement officer and the defendant in this case.
Yeah, this is an hours-long interview. They started watching this interview a little after 10 o'clock, so you subtract a break here and there. And I'm watching it live on my computer so I can stick up with it. They are still watching this interview. And we've hit a couple of hot topics, so to speak, throughout the interview with the Barrow County investigator and Colin Gray talking about consistent concerns with Colt's behavior and how he noticed more and more aggression coming from Colt. He talked about how he was noticing Colt in 7th grade becoming more interested in video games, and he did not like that. He said he wanted to get him outside. He wanted to bond with him. He chose hunting as that route, noting that he bought him his first gun in 2022 when they went deer hunting.
This is Colin Gray saying that was a way, in his telling, he was trying to bond with his son.
Trying to get him outside, not wanting him to be inside on video games all the time. But I do want to point out, because we are seeing a very emotional portion of this interview right now where the investigator just retold what happened at the school that day to Colin Gray. Colin Gray visibly emotional in this interview, saying that, I just wrote down this quote minutes ago. He said, "You have to believe me when I tell you I never ever in 1,000 years would ever think this would happen with him, ever." And then the investigator said, well, that's what he's under arrest for. And that was after he told him that his son, Colt Gray, according to this investigator, put a gun in his backpack, hid it in poster board, went out and killed 2 children and 2 staff members and injured multiple other people.
And Molly, in this conversation between the Barrow County Sheriff's Office investigator and Colin Gray, was there also any conversation about the allegations that Colt Gray had a particular interest in other school shooters?
That was one of the things that's been brought up, and actually during what I call kind of housekeeping in trials, when you hear the attorneys going back and forth before the jury was brought in, they were discussing the verbiage that they wanted to use around pictures of a previous school shooter that was found in Colt's room. Prosecutors had called it the school shooter shrine. Defense was not a fan of the word shrine. They decided not to use that, but that was a big portion of the discussion today. It was about that school shooter and the interest he had, which the investigator, when he was talking with Colt's father, Colin, said, as a father, that would have been a massive red flag to me if my son is asking me any questions about a school shooter.
And as we mentioned at the beginning of our conversation here, it has been, that interview, been playing for hours at this point, right, Molly, before the jury?
It's been going on for hours. They just paused it, and now they've brought it back up as I'm watching it. So this is something that they have been seeing for hours now. We knew this was going to be a lengthy video. I don't know if anyone outside of the state expected it to be this long, because it has been about 4 hours of watching this video, potentially. And
jurors really getting to see this conversation, it appears, from start to finish as it continues to play through. I believe we do have some pieces of this interview conversation queued up for you. I think we can, I'm getting the nod right now. Let's play a little bit of that for you so we can all listen into this together.
Hey, I need help. I said, the anxiety for him is increasing, and he's getting more bold towards me. And that's where he would say something off the cuff and go in his room, slam the door. I would just let that go because I don't want any starting from my little kids with them. Right. And as time went along, he became more and more like confrontational.
So our listeners and viewers at home can kind of catch up on what that was said, because I know the audio has been an issue for us, even hearing it directly as well. That was Colin Gray saying, hey, I need help. The anxiety for him, he was referencing Colton, this situation is increasing. He's getting more bold towards me. And then he told the investigator that he would just say something off the cuff, and then he would go to his room, slam the door, talked about how he really didn't want to put up with that. And then as time continued to go on, he noticed his son getting more and more confrontational. And that was a big portion of the morning, is talking about the behavior issues. The investigator just within the last couple of minutes asking Colin if he ever had if his son was ever diagnosed with anxiety, depression, things like that. Colin saying no, absolutely not. However, he is then consistently referencing anxiety and issues with temper and anger management.
And as you watch along here on your screen now, this is, and Gabby, correct me if I'm wrong, a live look inside Barrow County Superior Courtroom, where jurors continue to hear this conversation between the investigator and the defendant, Colin Gray, playing out. Molly, one last question for you. As you've been listening into this as well, what has stood out to you of the demeanor and the line of questioning that the investigator here has been advancing throughout this conversation? Has anything stood out to you from that perspective?
So one thing the investigator kind of clued the court in on, because they did question him on the stand before they started playing this video, is that he is noticing that Colin Gray's story doesn't seem to add up in certain points. He would say one thing, and then later when he questioned it, it would go back and forth. I will say there did seem to be a lot of shock and emotion when the investigator told Colin about 10 minutes ago now that we were seeing about what Colt did at the school. But again, that's something that the investigator brought up at the beginning, was that a lot of the timelines, especially in the earlier years with anxiety, depression, when he bought the gun, why he chose to get him a different gun, just weren't really lining up for him.
All right, our Molly Oak following along in real time, right alongside us, right alongside you, for every development going on inside the Barrow County Superior Courtroom as we approach and are now well into the 8th day of testimony in the trial of Colin Gray. Colin and his son Colt both have pleaded not guilty to the charges that they face. Molly, we know you're going to stay on top of this. Thank you very much. We're going to continue to follow all the developments there. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back after this. All right, we're taking a closer look now, and our partners at Consumer Reports are taking a deeper look after it was found that there were dangerous chemicals in synthetic braiding hair last year. The group, Consumer Reports, has now tested human hair and other braiding products, and what they found may surprise you. Luz Plasencia has the results.
When Consumer Reports' investigation of synthetic braiding hair found cancer-causing carcinogens in every sample tested last year, James Rogers, Consumer Reports' Director of Product Safety, was concerned, both as a scientist and as a parent.
Both of my daughters do use braids, and they do use synthetic hair for their braids. I'm very concerned of their exposure to these chemicals when they choose to wear braids.
Consumer Reports tested 30 additional braiding hair products, including human hair, plant-based hair, and other synthetic braiding hair products. All 30 products also contained VOCs, including acetone and small amounts of known carcinogens.
Almost every product tested contained heavy metals. Lead was detected in 29 of 30 products.
And all 9 human hair products CR tested contained lead concentrations far above CR's level of concern. Several products CR tested were found to have comparatively lower levels of contaminants, and for one product, the Doso Beauty hypoallergenic Caneculon fiber, all 3 heavy metals were not detected.
This suggests that in the production of synthetic braiding hair, these products can be made without being contaminated with potentially harmful chemicals.
CR contacted all the tested brands for comment. Of those who responded, some highlighted their own product testing, and a few noted that they are reviewing or enhancing their testing procedures. Some brands also took issue with CR's testing, challenging the methodology and risk assessment, and pointing out differences in their own testing.
The results of this testing will provide additional information that consumers, such as my 2 daughters, will be able to pick products that are safer when they choose to wear braids.
This is Luz Plasencia.
And joining us live right now is James Rogers with Consumer Reports. James, we appreciate you making the time for us. This was a story that had a real personal connection for you.
Yes, it did, because as I mentioned, my 2 adult daughters wear braids from time to time, and I wanted to be able to recommend to them products that were safer via our testing efforts, and I think I'm able to do that now.
And for folks who watched that story, saw the Consumer Reports reporting on this, and took away, hey, there are chemicals that potentially are not good for people in these products. Can you tell us a little more what specifically is concerning and what are the potential risks of the chemicals y'all found in these products?
So for instance, human hair is seen as an alternative to the artificial types of hair. And so that is the first line type of hair that people use for their cosmetics for hair. Finding such a high level of lead, which for adults can cause kidney problems, et cetera, and for children contribute to developmental issues and brain issues, finding such a high amount of lead, number one, tells us that human hair probably is not a good alternative. But it also points to the fact that the women that are growing their hair for selling are probably exposed to high levels of lead in their environment, in their diet, in the air, sometimes in their cosmetics. CR did a story on Kohl eyeliner that had high amounts of lead. And so it really points to a global problem, both for the wearers of the hair, but also those that grow their hair for commerce.
You get into something I wanted to ask you about, and you've teed us up really well when you talk about human hair as a alternative, as a substitute, as a supplement to these braiding materials. Is it in your finding that the human hair in its processing is getting these chemicals added to it? Or, as you've alluded to, is it a situation where perhaps the people who are growing their hair out to then be used for this purpose are being exposed to harmful chemicals on the front end?
Well, we don't know exactly where the source of the lead comes from, but you're correct. In addition to environmental exposure, chronic environmental exposure, it also could be that human hair that has to be processed also, maybe dyed, maybe chemically treated, maybe that processing is introducing lead to the product too. We don't know the processing steps because that's usually business sensitive information for the manufacturers of these products. But those are at least 2 of the theories that we have as to why there was so much lead in human hair.
Two last questions for you here, and I think they're ones people will both be keen to get answers to. The first is this: how do people learn more about what kinds of chemicals are inside of the products that they potentially use on a daily basis?
We believe our study last year was one of the first studies that actually connected brands to particular chemicals that may be found in the hair. This is a second study, so we've studied a total of 40 products now. There's another study that recently came out also that tested human hair. Right now, we're advising consumers that use this product to look at studies like ours and use that as a guide to help them find safer products. We noted in the story that there were at least 2 products of artificial hair that had either no detectable heavy metals or low amounts of heavy metals. So if consumers are concerned about heavy metal contamination, use our stories as a guide to help them choose the products they want to buy, but also be aware that there's going to be more testing and more data and information being released in the future.
And last question here, the other side of this part of our conversation, you've revealed how people can get more knowledge about potential exposure. Let's talk about the action component now. If you are somebody who's nodding along and thinking, whoa, I've used some of these products that have been flagged by CR as potentially risky, what should those folks do? You mentioned you can look for alternative products. Is there anything else they should do? Should they be in touch with a physician or anything like that?
So we list a number of responses we suggest for consumers. So for instance, if you're wearing these products and you start getting irritation, itching, rashes, go to your doctor and let them see that so that you have a record that this is happening. We also are suggesting that there's a website at the FDA where you can report these reactions so they know that a particular product is having an issue. We also list some of the things that you can do to reduce your exposure to these chemicals. So many consumers will wear these braids for 4 to 6 months. I'm sorry. Cut that time down. Maybe wear them for 2 to 3 months. We know it's expensive, but it's better to lower your exposure. We also suggest that you rest your hair in between braiding events. So extend the time between those events where you will have braids. We also suggest that sometimes if you think a particular brand is going to irritate you, do a patch test. Buy 1 pack of hair, put 1 braid in your hair, and then see if you're going to have a reaction to that. And if you do, don't use that particular brand. For the people who actually do the braiding, who may be exposed to these chemicals too, especially the volatile organic compounds that can be released when the hair is heated on the ends to close the ends. Maybe avoid that if you can. Figure out a way to close the ends of the braids a different way, or make sure where you're getting your braids that there's extensive effective ventilation so that the amount of these chemicals and the particulates that can be generated from the hair during the braiding process are kept very, very low, and though your exposure will be low also.
All right, James Rogers with Consumer Reports. We always appreciate you and CR's work on exposing stuff that folks may not always be paying keen attention to, but they definitely want to learn about and know about. So, James, thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Okay, and thank you for having me.
All right. We're going to go to a quick break right now. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back in. President Donald Trump delivered a record-setting in length State of the Union address last night before a joint session of Congress. It was technically the first of his second term in office. The one he delivered a year ago, technically not a State of the Union just by convention. So the president delivered his remarks that ran for more than an hour and 40 minutes last night. NBC's Garrett Hake has the highlights and all you need to know from the State of the Union last night.
President Trump entering the House chamber with a roar from Republicans and silence and empty seats on the Democratic side for the first State of the Union of his second term.
Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before.
The president using his nearly 2-hour speech to highlight successes of his first year, touting falling gas prices and a rising stock market.
A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world.
With 4 Supreme Court justices sitting just feet away, the president briefly criticizing the court's ruling against his sweeping tariff program, days after calling some of the justices, quote, disloyal to the Constitution.
An unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court.
But vowing to move ahead with new tariffs, the bulk of which will be paid by U.S. companies.
I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax.
The president repeatedly taking swipes at Democrats.
These people are crazy.
And trying to put them on defense over affordability.
They just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices.
The president also focusing on immigration, even attempting to goad Democrats into standing up and clapping.
To agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up.
The official Democratic response coming from newly elected Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger.
The president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted.
The president also pushing foreign policy late in his remarks, saying he preferred a diplomatic solution to the ongoing standoff with Iran, but will not allow the regime to acquire a nuclear weapon.
They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon.
The biggest bipartisan cheers of the night coming for the gold medal winning U.S. Olympic hockey team.
Here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team.
Mr. Trump adding that he plans to present goalie Connor Hellebuck with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and later awarding 2 medals of honor to military aviators of different eras. A helicopter pilot wounded in the recent raid to capture Nicolas Maduro, and a Korean War fighter pilot.
And that was Garrett Hake of NBC News reporting there. You heard from the president both last night and in that report. We want to bring in now Charlie Bailey. Charlie Bailey is the chairman of the Democratic Party of Georgia. Charlie, we appreciate you making the time. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you, Zach. Can you hear me?
I sure can. All right, Charlie, I know you watched the State of the Union last night. From the perspective of the Democratic Party of Georgia, what's your response to the remarks the president delivered?
Well, I mean, it's more of the same, Zach. We got an old man up there rambling on and not addressing the issues that working people in our state are dealing with. And frankly, it's worse than just not addressing, dismissing. You know, what did he say? That affordability or the ability of folks to pay their bills is a lie. And then you have all these Republicans pile in to clap for that. I think it's a real shame, but it shows how out of touch he is with the harmful policies and the impacts it's having on folks.
There was a lot of talk about the economy and affordability both last night and as you well know, throughout this election year. The president at one point argued that Democrats were to blame for affordability issues, saying, quote, "You caused that problem." What do you say in response to that?
I mean, he's an old fool. I mean, that's what I say. He's president of the United States. He's the one that passed a big billionaire bill that gave, billionaires $1 million a year in tax breaks, $1 million a year in tax breaks for the next 10 years, cut 540 million out of our rural health care system, causing labor and delivery units to close and ICU units across the state think about closing. It's him and Buddy Carter and Mike Collins and the rest of the Republicans in DC that have cut everybody's ACA credits, so that we see small businesses now in Georgia. We're hearing from small businesses having to shutter, insurance premiums doubling, tripling, quadrupling. So they did that. Nobody else made them do it. They didn't have to. So it's their policies and his policies that have brought us to the point where, what was it, just in January, Georgia led the nation in layoffs, and the highest numbers we've seen since the Great Recession in 2009. So if Donald Trump's talking, he's lying. And that's what we got a lot of last night. And frankly, a dismissiveness of the people of Georgia and what they're going through.
Let me ask you this question, made clear from your answer there, not a supporter of the president's vision of the state of the economy and the issue of affordability. For Georgia Democrats, if Georgia Democrats take control, what is your plan to solve the issue of affordability and make things more affordable for all the people who call Georgia home?
Well, Georgia Democrats have a lot of ideas. One, it starts with a tax code that rewards work and not wealth. For far too long, both in D.C. with the big billionaire tax cut, and here in Georgia, you've had a tax system that rewards billionaires and big corporations. It rewards people like Burt Jones and his daddy and Rick Jackson. They're doing just fine. But the working people of the state have been taken on the chin for 23 years. The Republicans have been in office. How long has it been, Zach, since Republicans have denied using our own federal tax dollars to provide working people and small businesses with health care? How long has it been since Medicaid expansion's been on the table and Republicans have refused to do that? What is that now? 15 years, 16 years? How many thousands of Georgians are not here that would be here if they had that health care? So those are just a start. But when we get back in control, you're going to have a government that cares a lot more about working folks and their ability to put food on the table than it does rewarding these billionaires and big corporations.
Let's talk about immigration, another big topic in our state and in our country and in our politics right now. At one point last night, the president said, and I'm quoting here, "If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens." Many of the Republicans in the chamber stood up and applauded. Many Democrats stayed seated. Was that the right move for the Democrats in the chamber to stay seated?
Well, I would say that it's not the right move for Donald Trump to have his federal agents running around the street, assaulting Americans, shooting them in the head, violating their civil rights. Whether who stood up or sat down at some, speech where an old man aggrandized himself about how great he is, frankly, don't matter worth a hill of beans. What matters is with the deeds, with the great power these folks have been given, what are their deeds? And so what I'm waiting to hear for is whether Mike Collins, Buddy Carter, Derek Dooley, Burt Jones, Rick Jackson, Brad Raffensperger, or Chris Carr will stand up for the citizens of this country that are being harassed by Donald Trump's federal law enforcement goons.
And how do you propose that the question of undocumented immigration be addressed? Specifically, how should it be addressed?
Well, the way that bipartisan groups of folks have tried to do it over the years, a comprehensive immigration reform. We had 2 times in the past, 20 years where that was on the table, and it was right-wing Republicans that killed it in the U.S. House each time. We got to have a secure border, and Georgia Democrats support that. But we need comprehensive immigration reform, so that folks that are working in this country, that are contributing to society, can be put on a path to citizenship. Now, I'm not going to take a back seat to anybody. I was a gang prosecutor. I've prosecuted some of the most dangerous people in the state of Georgia. And if you're a violent criminal, whether you are a citizen or not, you need to go to prison. But what Donald Trump and these Republicans are doing now is targeting hardworking people, family folks, citizens, and those that are trying to get documentation, targeting them when the hard work of keeping people safe requires federal, law enforcement, detectives doing investigations, not sending these fools around with cowards with masks on to beat up citizens on the street.
All right, Charlie Bailey, chairman of the Democratic Party of Georgia, with the DPG's response to the State of the Union address delivered last night by President Donald Trump. Charlie, we appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Always appreciate your time, Zach. Thank you.
And we're going to go a quick break right now. We will be right back after this. Well, we have an uplifting story for you right now, and nobody better to tell them and all those great stories than Caitlin Ross joining us now. Caitlin, you've got another just incredible story for us today.
Yeah, this one is really cool. And I don't use the term medical miracle lightly, but this truly feels like an incredible miracle. The fact that medicine has progressed to the point that they can do this is amazing. So this new procedure is called HOLT, heart after liver transplant. And it was invented because so many people who need a heart transplant were not able to get one because their body would reject it, right? So that's the biggest issue with organ transplantation. It's that the body can reject these organs. And so by doing this heart after liver transplant, the liver acts like a sponge, protects the heart, and gives these people the opportunity to live. The second time it was ever done ever in the United States was right here in Georgia, and you have to check this out.
Are camels with one hump called
Humpty?
It feels good to laugh again.
Does giga mean 1 million?
For Monica McFarlane, it feels good to be herself again.
I know I'm shaking.
Yeah. That's side effects, right?
It is.
Even the hard days are a gift.
These are all the different medications I have to take throughout the day.
After 15 years of heart failure, 9 medications a day is a reminder that she's still here.
I'm so thankful that I'm here to take these medicines. You know, I'm not going to complain about any of it.
Monica was just 37 when she was diagnosed with heart failure. For 15 years, doctors tried everything until they told her there was nothing left to try.
I had 2 days to 2 weeks to live and say my goodbyes.
She was not eligible for a traditional heart transplant. Antibodies in her blood meant her body would reject it. She and her family were preparing for the worst.
The doctor walked in as we were getting ready to leave, and she said, "Have you ever heard of the HALT procedure?"
HALT stands for Heart After Liver Transplant. It's an innovative strategy where surgeons transplant a liver first, followed by a heart from the same donor, using the liver to help shield the heart from rejection.
We knew that that heart would be rejected if we didn't follow this strategy. It was a big undertaking. The operation was extraordinary.
Dr. Victor Pretorius says the transplanted liver acts like a sponge, absorbing harmful antibodies and protecting the new heart.
It's a new strategy for us here at Emory in Georgia. That was the first time it was done.
16 hours in surgery, 3 months in recovery.
I've had 2 really good days in a row. Yay!
Now Monica is doing something she once thought she would never do again. Plan her future.
Oh my gosh, it was just from the lowest point of my life. It's telling my boys goodbye, and my husband and my mom, to the highest of high.
She is living again.
Kaylin, it's hard to not get a little emotional when you see a story like that, and just you hear the emotion and the breadth of emotion that Monica and her family went through on this journey, and now here she is.
Yeah, it was stunning to hear doctors tell her 2 days to 2 weeks to live. I mean, she was given a death sentence. There's nothing more we can do. They had tried everything. She had gone to hospitals all across the United States looking for anyone that would give her a chance, anyone that would give her a new heart. And she was rejected time and time again. They said, your heart is too damaged. The antibodies in your body will reject this heart. We're not going to do it. I mean, organs that become available are incredibly precious. There is a saying, like, donate life, because this really does give people a second chance at life. But doctors have to be really rigorous when they evaluate who is getting these organs. And so she was told no time and time again. And so this procedure really gave her a chance when there was none left. There was nothing left for the doctors to do. And so now that they have this available procedure, this is going to change lives for thousands of people who have been told there's nothing left for you.
And that is something I wanted to ask you about, so I'm glad you bring it up. We heard from one of the physicians on that team at Emory talking about the procedure. This was the first time it was done ever in Georgia. Now that it has been done, and successfully, does that mean the gates are now open for lots of other people to benefit from this as well?
Yes, great question, because they really are. So this was a 16-hour procedure, took all sorts of different doctors from different specialties who all had to come together and get this done. And the choreography of it really matters, because it's the heart after the liver. So you have to have a liver specialist in there. You have to make sure all of her body functions are going properly. Then you have to have the heart come in. And so it's a very specific medical procedure, but if done correctly, I mean, she's going to get more than a decade now onto her life because of this procedure. And what I think is so cool about it, which hopefully will work in other patients, it's her liver was fine, right? She got the transplanted liver because it had to act as a sponge for the new heart that she was getting from that same donor. But because her liver was fine, if it had been healthy enough, that can be transplanted into another patient who's in liver failure. So it's like this incredible circle of life that just keeps going. It's really amazing.
And for those physicians that were working on this, anytime medical professionals undertake something that they have not yet done before, there's a lot of hope that goes into that, a lot of practice, and certainly some trepidation as well. This is as serious as cutting-edge medicine gets. What did the physicians tell you about their mindset as they went into this?
That it really was the last chance. They said they were very aware that there was no other option left for her. And so this surgery had only been performed one other time in the United States. Conceptually, it was a thing. Like, doctors understood, if we can get a liver from the same donor into the patient, the liver should do its job, right? It should function as a sponge and clean out everything to make sure the antibodies don't protect the heart. But they didn't know. You know, they're kind of going into this because it is experimental and they're not sure if it's going to work. And Monica is an example of where it worked beautifully. It worked perfectly. I love the opening of that story because you can see her laughing with her husband and her mom, and it's like she really did get her life back. And what's fascinating about that, you think about, she was in heart failure. She was told she had 2 weeks to 2 days left to live. She was saying her goodbyes. We interviewed her, I think, 7 weeks after her procedure.
Wow.
And that's already how
that was
good
7
she,
weeks
yes.
after. Wow.
Yes. And
she looked incredible.
Right. And she's already doing so well. And so I think it opens the door for so much hope for so many patients who have just been told there's nothing left for you here. And to see the advances in medicine and just how well all of these doctors orchestrated this beautiful surgery that now gave her life back, it's truly incredible.
You know, we talk about the care team, the doctors, the nurses, everybody at the hospital who went into this. It is a team on the home front, too.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and we saw right after the opening of that story, the family all together spending time. I think you mentioned her mother. Obviously, her husband is there. She's got a couple children, I think a couple boys there we saw in the photo. For them, what did the family, the loved ones, tell you about how they managed to just get through what was such an ordeal?
Yeah, it really was the lowest of lows, like she said. She was saying goodbye to her boys, which is just like gutting. And so they have walked through this with her for 15 years. She's been in heart failure for 15 years. She had 2 devices implanted where she was wearing a backpack, and she was really, I mean, wired for sound. Like, she had to wear this backpack around everywhere she went. Before this, she had been a marathon runner. So she was like very active. She has these 2 young boys, and then she goes into heart failure and her whole life just stops. So she's having to wear this backpack. The first implanted device gets infected. She goes for a second implanted device. She ends up having to have emergency brain surgery. I mean, they have been for more than a decade just hoping and praying that their mom would get better. And it felt like this was the end of the road. There's nothing else they can do. And then to be given this extraordinary second chance, I mean, it really is the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. And they're all just so grateful. Her husband, Darren, is such a sweetheart. He is so protective of her. And as we were putting this story together, you know, he wanted to make sure that he was in really close touch with us because he wanted her story to be told well and truthfully, and he wanted to make sure people really saw everything that she's been through. And so you can see that just protective kindness that surrounds her and how close she is with her mom. I mean, she just has an incredible family that has supported her every step of the way. And for them, this is such a second chance too.
And you can see and feel that all throughout that piece there. You feel the love. At the end, Monica talked about now, she said, I get to plan for my future again. What is she planning for her future now that she has a lot of years ahead to plan for?
Yeah, she wants to travel. She said that was the one thing when she was wearing those backpacks and she had all the wires. It really was, it made her world very small. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't really travel around. They were always so concerned about her health and making sure that she was going to be okay that they really felt like they had to stick close to home. Now her world is wide open. She can go anywhere she wants. She is wire-free. And the transplant just went so well. It kind of blew the minds of everybody who was involved in it. And so now she really does have this future to plan for where she can travel, she can hit those bucket list items, and she can do it all with her family.
What a remarkable story of perseverance and medical science, and a lot of love, I know, that went into that whole family getting to where they are now. And a lot of love from you, Caitlin, telling that story like only you can do.
Thank you so much. Really
Caitlin,
appreciate it.
Thank you as always. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Right now, we continue to follow live developments from inside the 8th day of testimony in the trial of Colin Gray, the father of the accused Appalachia High School shooter. Our Marley Oak has been following everything going on inside of the courtroom all day for us. You join us right now live. Molly, where do things stand right now inside of this courtroom?
Well, right now we're hearing an interview with Jenny Gray, who is Colt's younger sister. And emphasis on hearing because we are not seeing that interview. Attorneys asked to not show it on camera because she is a minor.
And we want to bring that live picture from inside the courtroom back up here. We're going to take you there now live. We're going to be listening in. One note before we do, we're listening live right alongside of you. Some of the material discussed here may be troubling. With that warning, let's listen in right now.
Some examples of stuff that has happened that have been like major things that he doesn't like kind of get what's going on? Kind of like moving houses and stuff. Okay. Tell me about moving houses. We've been to like a lot of houses with like switching back and forth. And like now we're trying to like settle into a place. Okay. Tell me, help me understand how come you switched back, you said, between a lot of houses. Can you help me tell me about that? Sometimes it's like with financial struggles. Yeah. It's just like with the community and stuff. Okay. So when you switch back and forth between houses, is it always the same people that live in the houses? Sometimes my mom comes and lives with us, but most of the time, like now, she does. Okay. What is mom's name? Marcy. But you said right now mom doesn't live with you guys? Okay. Do you still talk to mom and see mom? Mm-hmm. Okay. Where does mom live at? She kind of like is between my house and my grandma's house. Okay. And when you say your house, so you just my right stuff down. I already forgot what road you said you lived on. Can you tell me that again? Harrison Mill. When you say that mom lives between your house and grandma's house, no, she's like switches back and forth. Okay. Like she lives in one house and she goes to the next one. Okay, so does she ever live in the Harrison Mill house? Okay. And when was the last time that mom lived with you? Like, previously or just like both? Both. Okay, understand both. Well, she was out here like a month or two ago. Okay. And when she was up here like a month or two ago, does she stay like in the house with you guys? Mm-hmm. And where does she stay in the house when she's there? Usually in my bedroom. Okay. And then when she doesn't stay there, where does she go? She usually like at the house or like in a different part of the house. Like when she's not living at the house where you're at, where will she live? She usually lives at my grandma's house. Okay. And where's grandma's house at? Fitzgerald. In Fitzgerald? Okay. And so, when mom was here a month or two ago,
we continue to listen in right now as this interview of the daughter of Colin Gray, the defendant who you see on your screen right now, continues to play out in real time inside of the Barrow County Superior Courtroom where the 8th day of testimony in this criminal trial continues. We are not showing Colin Gray's daughter here or her interview because she is a minor, and out of respect both for the judge's order to our pool camera in this trial and more importantly out of respect for the minor herself. We are not showing her on camera here, but you could listen to her voice there. The audio a little difficult to pick up from our speakers here, but we want to bring in our Molly Oak right now. Molly, you've been following this all day long. This is the latest development. But for those just joining us, walk us through what we need to know about all that has transpired today inside of this courtroom.
And just for context, for those who are just kind of tuning in, Jenny, again, Colin's daughter, Colt's younger sister, she testified on the stand yesterday. We're hearing video from when she was interviewed September 5th. But as far as what has happened today, things kicked off with a little housekeeping, and then we saw a Barrow County investigator take the stand, Jason Smith. We then saw the video of Jason Smith interviewing Colin Gray the day after the shooting. They talked about Colin and Colt's relationship, how they first started bonding. A lot of that was over guns and deer hunting, and then continued to talk about his issues with his temper and how they continue to see that grow.
And you talk about September 5th. This is September 5th, 2024, in that interview of Jenny Gray here, right?
Yes, yes.
That's one day after the shooting in Appalachia High School took place. And obviously we continue to listen in to that interview. And we should note here, too, if you want to listen in uninterrupted right here in 11Alive Plus, if you just click down on your menu and click over, an uninterrupted live stream continues of all of the proceedings inside of the courtroom. So you can watch along in real time right there. We, of course, are going to continue to listen in throughout the remainder of our time together here. Molly, Jenny Gray, her interview being played right now, the interview between Colin Gray and investigators, you've brought us up to speed on that a little bit. What have been the standout moments, and is there any moments that we can play for those watching for them to hear alongside?
And you mentioned Jenny's interview was from September 5th. The interview that I want you to listen in on is also from September 5th. It's with the investigator and Colin Gray. It is the moment that the investigator told Colin Gray what Colt is accused of doing and why he was arrested.
He opens up fire and he strikes four individuals and four individuals that he shoots and hits. They pass from the injuries that they sustained. Two of them, Colin, were children. I know it's like, why in the hell would he do this? Two of them were stabbed. You have to believe me when I tell you I never, ever in 1,000 years would ever think this would happen with him. Ever. Well, that's what he's under arrest for.
Now, just before this moment, that was when the investigator told Colin Gray that his son, Colt Gray, had 4 warrants out for his arrest. They both talked about how there had been a lot of damage done and lives lost. And he also noted that there were a lot more injured, and he wasn't even sure on the extent of the injuries at that time.
And Colt Gray and Colin Gray both have pleaded not guilty here. As we've mentioned throughout our coverage here, this is a case of first impression. Georgia juries have never heard a case before where prosecutors have brought charges against the parent of an accused school shooter as well as the accused school shooter themselves. Colin Gray facing 29 counts, including 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. As Molly, you watched that conversation between the investigator there from the Barrow County Sheriff's Office and Colin Gray. We heard Colin Gray say in that interview clip you just played, paraphrasing, he said he never in a million years thought something like this would have happened. Did the investigator ask him anything more along that line of questioning, and did Colin Gray say anything about maybe what he knew and what he didn't know?
The investigator went on to actually reference the Jenny interview that the courtroom is hearing now for the first time, and talked about how she was such a bright girl, they talked with her, she did very well, and then referenced things that all of our streaming audience just heard in Jenny's interview and that they're going over with the court now.
And Molly, I ask that question because a key component and really the heart of the prosecution's case here is, as they allege it, Colin Gray bears criminal responsibility because he knew that there was a sufficient warning, something bad could happen, and despite those warnings, he provided the firearm that Colt Gray allegedly used in the high school mass shooting that he's accused of committing. Now, the defense has worked to poke holes in that theory, but when you hear testimony that gets to Colin Gray's knowledge, that's going to be key for the jury to sort through, as both the prosecution and the defense is going to be looking for those elements. Molly, we are short on time. Is there anything else right now that we should be aware of and we should be paying attention to as testimony continues throughout this afternoon?
I think right now what's important to listen to is, if you've been following along with Colin Gray's interview, really listening in on Jenny's interview right now. Yesterday when Jenny testified, they talked about how Jenny's interview really contradicted a lot of what Colin said, whereas, for example, how often Colt had that gun, how much access he had to the gun. So I think that's going to be an interesting aspect that we're going to see play out right now live today.
And keep in mind, too, this is the prosecution's case. The state is presenting its case in chief right now. At some point, they are going to rest, and that means then it is the defense team's turn to present their case as they see fit. Right now, the defense, of course, still speaking through cross-examinations of the witnesses and the evidence here. Molly, we know you're going to stay on top of this as long as it takes. We appreciate it.
Exactly.
Thank you. We're going to turn now to this. Take a look on your screen here. Earlier today, I said it was a sunny day, and you know what? I was wrong. It is a sunny day with some clouds, but that's pretty close. The good news is we have an expert on the way, making her way into the 11Alive Plus streaming center as we speak. Our very own meteorologist, Danielle Moss, is joining us. I'm going to give her another 15 seconds. She just sat down. You can hear her to get settled. That was a very quick transition, Danielle, and we appreciate it. I think we can bring you in now. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Zach.
You were nice earlier when I said it was a sunny day. You said, yeah, it is. Cloudy. That was very kind. Let's put another, can we put the weather camera back up here at the King and Queen building? Can we put that full, Gabby?
I didn't want to be.
No, you're good. What are we looking at today?
That just means you're hard at work today inside the building. We don't have many windows.
We do not have many windows.
So it is okay. You haven't seen it, but it is a little cloudy today.
Yeah, look at that. Sunny. The sun's still there.
It's a
somewhere.
little peak of sun. Yes,
buried.
it is just buried, but our temperatures are still very warm. So it is deceiving. Usually when we talk about cloudy days, we don't see our temperatures being into the 60s. So the good news is we are not really suffering with any of our cooler temperatures. Here's a look at our satellite and radar. We're not the only ones with this blanket of cloud cover. It is pretty thick clouds as we are awaiting the arrival of some rain showers. Here's a closer look into some isolated showers that are happening right now in North Georgia. Overall, most of us are dry, but there are just a few sprinkles that are hanging out there. In fact, some of this moisture might not even be making it to the ground, but it's just kind of like that pesky rain. That's what we're going to be dealing with for the rest of this evening. Current temperature is still very warm. It's 63 degrees here in Metro Atlanta, 58 over in Carrollton, and 59 degrees up in Kennesaw. So it's still above average for this time of the year, and even as we take a look into Midtown, that cloud cover is thick. Over the next 4 hours, we're still going to be pretty much close to that 60-degree mark, even with all the clouds, and it's going to get thicker overnight tonight, so just make sure that you are aware of that. Let's time out the rainfall that you can expect for your Thursday. Here's a look at it. North Georgia could definitely be seeing some really good rain, really overnight tonight and into your Thursday morning. But for the most part, overnight tonight, we will be mostly dry. Temperatures on Thursday are going to be warm once again into the mid-60s, but we will be seeing more rain develop across Georgia for your Thursday. So let's time that out for you. Here's a look at your lunchtime. Definitely going to be seeing some really heavy downpours there, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, but I'm thinking just that heavy rain is going to be the main concern. So just make sure that you watch out. Maybe those roads be a little bit slick out there. Maybe there's some ponding on your roads if you have to go out and grab a quick lunch. I suggest maybe just bring it with you tomorrow morning. As you prepare for your Thursday evening commute, it looks like that heavy rain will move down to the south and really head it to East Georgia. And then as we continue to put the forecast track into motion, it looks like overnight on Thursday, all of the heavier rain and stronger storms will be staying down to the south. Now, some of our counties, our southern counties, could be seeing some rain. We're not saying that everyone's going to be dry, but here in Metro Atlanta and in North Georgia, you're definitely not going to be seeing that really heavy rainfall into your Thursday night and even your Friday morning. Now, this cloud cover, unfortunately, is holding in some of that moisture. So as we go through your Friday and your Saturday, there could be a few more scattered showers that are possible. I say just keep your rain gear handy. I don't think that it's going to be anything that's going to be too alarming. In fact, what you're looking at now, this is Saturday morning, early Saturday morning. I know that there's a lot of people who are either going to be coming into town or preparing to run in the Publix race. So just make sure that you have your rain gear handy. It's not going to be impacting those temperatures. In fact, we will be drying out as we head into your Saturday afternoon. Quickly, that 7-day forecast.
And Danielle, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to cut you off here. We're getting a special report right now from NBC News on an incident involving a Cuban boat. We're going to take you right now to the special report anchored by Tom Llamas.
6 others in the confrontation. The injured have been taken back to Cuba to be treated medically. Again, this is all coming right now from the Cuban government. So as we get more information, we will bring it to you. I do want to bring in NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. And Gabe, this is such a serious situation because of the rhetoric between the United States and the Cuban government. Just recently, I think less than 2 weeks ago, the Cuban president, the leader of Cuba, saying that Cuba was ready for war with the United States in the wake of what's happened in Venezuela and that they were on alert alert for anything that might happen there. Again, sometimes these incidents happen in those waters. We should mention the location where this happened was very close to the Bahamian border as well, where there's usually lots of both drug smuggling and people smuggling as well. Cubans trying to flee the communist oppression there. What do we know right now coming from either our Coast Guard or the White House right now, Gabe?
Well, Tom, there are a lot of unanswered questions right now. We are out to White House officials trying to get any more details on this. But so far, as you said, all we know is from the Cuban side at this point. They say 4 people are dead and 6 others on that boat, which was registered in Florida, have been injured. And also, Tom, another border guard troop from the Cuban side was also wounded, according to the Cuban government. Now, this all comes, as you said, amid ramped up tensions between the two countries in the wake of the capture of Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro. There have been significant fuel shortages in Cuba over the last few weeks, and there have been questions about what the U.S. plans to do next year. The president himself recently saying that he expects the Cuban government to fall. And Tom, right now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in the Caribbean in the island of St. Kitts and Nevis meeting with Caribbean leaders. Again, we're out to the State Department as well for any comment. But Tom, a lot of unanswered questions here about who exactly was on that boat and what led to this confrontation.
And Gabe, right now, the only information we're getting from the U.S. government is coming from elected representatives in Congress from South Florida who are putting this news out there. But again, we're not hearing from the State Department or anyone else just yet.
Not yet. Again, we're still awaiting any confirmation about who exactly was on that boat. But it comes as, you know, there has been this huge military buildup on the other side of the Caribbean. And also the Trump administration has been really escalating its rhetoric towards the Cuban government. Secretary of State Rubio, of course, is Cuban American and has made a large part of his political career being very, wanting to topple essentially the Cuban government, the communist government there. But again, at this point, we do not have any details about who was on that boat.
We thank you. As we look at this map here, I'm going to bring in Jose Diaz-Balart. Guys, let's put that map back up. I want to show the viewers exactly where this is happening right now. Jose, talk our viewers through the location here, right? Because again, where you see that little white dot at the top of northwest Cuba, this is where the incident, according to the Cubans, happened, 1 nautical mile off those keys off the north of Cuba. So this is very close to the Bahamian border. Again, Sal Bank, which is an area people go to fish, but also people where they go to drop off sometimes Cubans that they're smuggling, Cuban refugees that are trying to leave the island. Jose, we can't stress enough, this is such a sort of strenuous time right now between the U.S. and Cuba has made it very clear they are on alert for any type of U.S. attack or any type of incursion that would happen in their country.
Indeed, Tom. And, you know, it's striking to remember sometimes that Cuba is 90 miles away from Key West. And so the proximity of the island to not only Florida, but to the Bahamas, which is really a skip and a jump away, there are a lot of questions. And so far, the only source about this incident comes from the Cuban regime. Important to recognize and also remember that that regime has oftentimes utilized humans for political purposes, sometimes releasing political prisoners when an American celebrity comes to the island or some person who requests that some political prisoners are released. We have to also remember that it was the 24th of February, 1996, 30 years ago yesterday, that 2 small Cessnas from Brothers to the Rescue, a South Florida organization that was seeking rafters leaving the island, was shot down over international waters by the Cuban regime. 4 people Jose, were killed, 3 citizens, 1 American resident.
Yeah, a lot of unanswered questions here, including why there were so many people on that boat and why they fired back. A lot of times in these smuggling incidents, they leave. This is going to conclude this NBC News special report. We thank you.
All right, we are back now in the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. You just watched right alongside of us that special report from NBC News on a developing situation we are tracking along with our partners at NBC. Cuban officials saying 4 people have been killed and 6 people have been injured after what they described as an armed confrontation in Cuba's waters. This is, I want to stress here, a very early and developing situation where many details are yet to come out. And as you heard from our partners at NBC News, the network there, at this point, the only sourcing we have is from an official statement from, it appears, from the Cuban embassy in the United States. I want to read you part of what the Cuban embassy is saying right now and bring you as up to speed as we are at this point. This is from the Cuban embassy just before 2 p.m. Eastern time today, posting on X, quote, "On the morning of February 25th, 2026, a violating speedboat was detected within Cuban territorial waters. The vessel, registered in Florida, the United States, approached up to 1 nautical mile northeast of the El Pino Channel in Cayo Falcones, Corralillo Municipality, Villa Clara Province, when a service unit of the Border Guard troops of the Ministry of the Interior carrying 5 service members approached the vessel for identification. The crew of the violating speedboat opened fire on the Cuban personnel, resulting in the injury of the commander of the Cuban vessel. As a consequence of the confrontation, as of the time of this report, again, this tweet from the Cuban embassy in the United States, 4 aggressors on the foreign vessel were killed and 6 were injured. The injured individuals evacuated and received medical assistance. Again, a very early and developing situation here. Limited details at this point. The Cuban embassy saying a vessel registered in the United States engaged in and ended up in a confrontation with a Cuban vessel that resulted in 4 people being killed and 6 injured following this armed confrontation, according to Cuban officials. We're going to continue to track all of this right alongside of our partners at NBC News as more details become available. We, of course, are going to bring them right to you. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back after this. We take you now to Colorado. This is a live image from our sister station, KUSA, where their photojournalist is on the scene in Thornton, Colorado. That's in the greater Denver metro area. Evacuations have been ordered due to a fire in Thornton. You can see a little bit of some smoke in the distance of this camera shot right now. A lot of law enforcement on the scene. According to our sister station, KUSA, homes, businesses, and a high school in the area around this cross street were being evacuated due to a fire. Earlier in the day, a large plume of smoke was visible in the North Denver metro area. It appears that at least from this vantage point, that fire has been knocked down to some degree. Police have said while emergency personnel are conducting manual evacuations, anyone who does not feel safe should evacuate. This is a developing story that KUSA, our sister station, 9 News in Denver, is following. A bit of historical context here, too, as we track this situation and hope that, as this image indicates, it does appear that first responders have been able to largely knock down these flames. Denver and the Denver area has a history of some really devastating wildfires in recent years. So whenever a situation like this arises, it is something that gets the attention of folks in Colorado and folks in Denver. We're hoping for the best here, as this picture, at least from our vantage point, offers some signs of optimism. Our sister station KUSA is going to continue to track this on the ground in Denver, and we are going to follow the developments here. And as we learn more, we're going to bring them to you. And I just want to make one last point here, too. You see that tree on the left-hand side of your screen shaking a little bit and blowing in the wind. The wind is a real challenge when trying to battle and address the potential for fires, particularly in an area that has seen some large wildfires. When that wind starts to gust, it can help spread embers around and raise the risk of an increased and more severe situation. Hoping that is not the case here. Things reasonably looking under control at this juncture. KUSA, our sister station, is going to keep on top of this, and we will bring you any updates from them. We want to take you now to another story still unfolding in the West. It's now been 25 days, 25 long, incredibly long days for the Guthrie family, as Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie, remains missing. The search for her now into its 25th day since she was officially reported missing on February 1st. NBC's Liz Kreutz has the latest from Tucson.
Well, hey there. Since Savannah posted that heartbreaking video, a law enforcement official tells NBC News that the FBI has received more than 750 tips. But experts tell us that that reward, that $1 million reward the family is now offering, is not so much about the quantity of tips as it really is about the quality. The family is hoping that by offering this reward, they might be able to now incentivize the people, the small group of people who maybe know something about this case. They've been reluctant to come forward. Maybe now they'll be incentivized to do so. As one federal official told NBC News, money can break allegiances. They don't need another 1,000 tips. They just need that one. We are now 25 days into this search. There is still no suspect, no person of interest. And another question some have been asking is, well, why would the family offer this reward now, 3.5 weeks into this? And our understanding from a source close to the family is that the Guthries have always been willing to offer a reward since the beginning of Nancy's disappearance, but they were advised by all involved to hold off because in those initial stages, there were already an influx of tips pouring in. More of a reward could just continue to overwhelm the infrastructure for those tips. But now is that time where they're hoping it might jumpstart or jolt the tip line once again. And we should also note that the FBI is continuing to work this case along with the Sheriff's Department. A senior law enforcement official says that scores of agents are still involved with the search for Nancy. The official notes that while some of those agents might now be based in Phoenix or Washington, D.C., that they are not downsizing and continue to be very involved with this case. Back to you.
And that is NBC's Liz Kreutz reporting from Tucson, Arizona, as this search continues into its 25th day. As you heard Liz mention here, and we're going to mention here and lay out here once again, Savannah Guthrie and the Guthrie family now offering up to $1 million for information that leads to the recovery of their mother, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. If you have any information, you can call, you can phone in, you can text. There are a lot of options. One of the main ways to get in touch is to call the FBI on their tip line. That phone number, we're going to read it twice here. The FBI tip line number is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, that phone number, 1-800-225-5324. Let's read it once more. 1-800-225-5324. We're We're going to turn now to a story a little closer to home here in Georgia. Our Doug Richards is tracking some proposed legislation, and usually we join our Doug Richards from inside of the state capitol. But Doug, that is not where you are situated today, sir.
Right, you are, Zach. We're in Little Five Points, actually, a community in Northeast Atlanta, and in front of the Little Five Points Pharmacy, where we have been chatting with Ira Katz, the pharmacist here. He is one of many backers of a House bill that is actually proceeding quietly through the legislature over the last few days that seeks to reform the formulas that govern how pharmaceutical prices are paid by consumers, as well as the prices that pharmacies themselves pay to drug companies. And they think that this bill, which is passed in another couple of states, may lend transparency from drug companies to the pharmacies that are dispensing pharmaceuticals, creating savings potentially for consumers if this bill passes. Let's hear from Mr. Katz.
It's a win for the consumer. It's certainly a win for the employers, and it's a win for the pharmacy, okay? Because on some of these high-priced drugs, the independent pharmacies are losing money, okay? And now, we'll have some recourse that we know what our costs are going to be, and what the copays and charge will be to the consumer, to the patient.
So this bill came to our attention in part because some folks in the Capitol are concerned about this bill, and of course many of the big business interests are represented very well at the Capitol. So sometimes it's hard to say exactly where they're coming from when they express concern, but there was concern expressed to me that this bill might actually raise out-of-pocket prices to consumers. However, the pharmacist here at 5 Points Pharmacy says that is, he didn't say it was disinformation, but he said it was basically a talking point raised by people who kind of like the system the way it is, which generates large profits for pharmaceutical companies, also generates profits for chain pharmacies. And this is a bill that he says, and that its backers at the Capitol say, is designed to actually save not only independent pharmacies like the one behind me, but also the many independent pharmacies around the state, particularly outside of Metro Atlanta, which have been going out of business at an alarming rate. We heard from one pharmacist who spoke to a House committee a few days ago, who said that she actually has to bake biscuits in the morning in order to get people to come into her store and in order to keep her pharmacy afloat. So those are the types of pharmacies that they say that this bill, if it passes, could save, Zach.
Doug, you mentioned the landscape under the Gold Dome. Ultimately, it's always a question about politics there. How much support does this bill have in the state legislature right now?
Well, it went through a committee process and a lengthy hearing a couple of days ago, and some sharp questions were raised by members of both parties. And when the bill came to a vote, it passed unanimously with Republicans and Democrats supporting it.
Our Doug Richards on top of everything going on under the Gold Dome, as always. Doug, we appreciate it. Thank you. We're going to turn now to this, another topic that has gotten a great deal of attention both inside the state legislature and inside the broader world of Georgia government. We have an update now on allegations of a $140 million Ponzi scheme involving First Liberty and Loan. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, he is issuing an emergency order for Timothy Nathaniel Darnell to cease all securities and investments. He is the president of the Georgia Republican Assembly, a connected political group inside of conservative politics in our state. Here are the allegations from the Secretary of State's office that the president of the GRA knowingly misled investors over the course of 5 years, starting in 2020, used Bankers Life and Casualty Company to recruit investors into First Liberty, and a number of other allegations. The Secretary of State's office now seeking a maximum civil penalty of $500,000 and is referring Darnell to the Cobb County District Attorney for possible criminal charges, also referring this allegation to the Georgia Insurance Commissioner to determine if there are any steps needed to be taken by the Insurance Commissioner's office. Here's what the Secretary of State had to say about this.
Our hardworking neighbors' retirement savings should have been safe, but the evidence in our investments suggests the responsible parties knew that wasn't the case. That's the fiduciary duty that he had, and said those funds appear to have been diverted to liquor stores, luxury purchases, and political campaigns.
So that is Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a Republican, discussing these new allegations that are connected to an initial investigation that is now, at this point, several months old, into allegations of a $140 million Ponzi scheme centered on the First Liberty and loan business. Now the Secretary of State expanding the scope of their allegations and alleging that Timothy Nathaniel Darnell has also committed some types of impropriety and is now issuing an emergency order for him to cease all securities and investments. This is still a very early and developing story here. We are awaiting response from Mr. Darnell. As soon as we have that, we, of course, will bring that to you. Important context here as well. This all, for what it's worth, is taking place inside of an election year. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger is a Republican, and he is one of 3 prominent contenders in the GOP primary for governor. We're going to go to break right now. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We're going to take you now to Washington, D.C. and to Capitol Hill, where Fulton County Commissioner Mo Ivory, who we should note has recently launched a campaign for Fulton County Commission chairperson, was on the Hill today just moments ago. This is all happening within the last half an hour or so, talking with and answering questions from U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, a Democrat, about the recent FBI raid of a Fulton County election facility. Here is some of their conversation.
What did they tell you that they were doing? How did they explain their presence in Fulton County?
There was very little conversation. They told us to step back. They were here to get everything related to 2020, and that they would go in and get what they needed, and there was very little conversation.
Right. Now, this was an FBI raid, correct?
Correct.
And we all saw it, but I just want to establish that for the record. This is a raid by the FBI.
Yes.
But Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, was on the scene.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you know what she was doing there? You saw her yourself.
Yes, I did.
Do you know what she was doing there?
I don't know why she was there.
Okay. Did the FBI tell you where they were taking the ballots or what they were going to do with them?
No.
Since the raid, have you received any information about how the ballots are being handled or what measures are in place to ensure that no one is tampering with those ballots?
No.
What types of sensitive voter data were contained in the boxes of ballots and other materials taken by the FBI?
The materials included were the actual ballots, recap sheets, results tapes, and absentee ballot envelopes that contained personally identifiable information.
Right. As a commissioner, as a servant of the people of Fulton County, are you concerned about what the administration will do with such sensitive data from Fulton County voters?
Yes.
Thank you so very much for your testimony. I have demanded an explanation from Pam Bondi about this raid. So far, I have not heard back from her. She has not offered one, but we'll keep demanding answers because if we don't stand up now, they won't stop with Fulton County. We saw this in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when Attorney General Bondi attempted to seize the state voters' roll in exchange for the withdrawal of ICE agents. They literally said, you want ICE out of your community? Hand over your voter rolls. Hand over your voter rolls if you want to end the occupation of your city. And I call it that because there are 600 police officers, over 3,000 federal agents. This is their project. They are already trying to cast doubt on the 2026 elections. Commissioner Ivory, what keeps you up at night when you think about the midterm elections, when you think about the seizing of voter rolls or voter records in Fulton County, a ransom note from the Attorney General to the people of Minneapolis? Does that bother you at all as you think about the midterm elections?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is a preview of what could happen nationally, which is attempted takeovers from multiple angles. I worry about the election workers who are everyday people coming to work to support their families and feel intimidated just going to work every day. The Fulton County Republican Party attempted to nominate 2 known election deniers to our Board of Registrations and Elections as a part of this. It's a complete movement. So what keeps me up at night is knowing that we in Fulton County are able and have secure, fair, and free elections. But voter suppression is a tactic that keeps people at home. And we have to fight to make sure that people know that their vote is important and that they have the right to exercise it.
To proceedings from Capitol Hill between U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, a Democrat, and Fulton County Commissioner Mo Ivory, who recently launched a campaign for Fulton County Commission chair. They were discussing the recent FBI search warrant that was executed in the Fulton County election hub. We should point out the administration's perspective on this as well. For as much as we understand it right now, the Department of Justice and the FBI have been reasonably tight-lipped about the search warrant and about the details of the investigation behind it. The president, during the State of the Union address last night, said this, and I'm going to quote here from a transcript of his remarks. "The cheating is rampant in our elections. It is rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. And the president went on to discuss other election-related topics in this section of his speech. We still don't know the outcome of this ongoing investigation, and litigation continues on it. We should point out this. Despite a number of recounts and multiple legal challenges, no evidence of fraud to the level that it would have overturned the 2020 presidential elections results in Georgia has surfaced at this time, now 6 years after the date of that November general election in 2020 here in Georgia. I'm going to turn now to this, another story that is continuing to unfold both here in our state and around the country, and it revolves around the question of the Department of Homeland Security and one of its sub-agencies, ICE, working to expand its footprint of immigration detention facilities around the country. Recently, the city of Social Circle, right here in metro Atlanta, appears to be about to get a new ICE facility. You see some drone footage of a large warehouse there, and the city has said that they are bracing for the construction and build out of an immigration detention facility that would include the capacity to house between 7,500 and 10,000 people. That's according to officials with the city of Social Circle, a small city of about 5,000 residents. The Department of Homeland Security recently purchased that warehouse you're seeing on your screen right now. The city officials have pushed back on the plan, saying that it would raise particular issues with their infrastructure, like sewage and traffic. The city manager saying in a statement, or rather city officials saying in a statement earlier this month, quote, "To be clear, the city has repeatedly communicated that it does not have the capacity or resources to accommodate this demand, and no proposal presented to date has demonstrated otherwise." But at this point, the city of Social Circle has indicated they have been told that the project is moving forward, as is, it appears, a planned immigration detention facility in Oakwood out in Hall County. I think we had a map up on the screen a little bit ago indicating that this is part of a larger and ongoing project for the Department of Homeland Security to expand its footprint of immigration detention centers around the country. One place where that conversation continues right now is in the city of South Fulton, where recently the city of South Fulton has decided that it's going to update its zoning rules, and they say block ICE detention facilities from being allowed to be built within the city limits of South Fulton. And that decision came after a resolution was passed in its favor 5-2 last night at the city council meeting. Our Jonathan Martin spoke with the council member behind the resolution. That's Helen Willis. Jonathan Martin spoke to Councilmember Helen Willis yesterday to get a little bit more information about why she felt now was the time to, in her view, be proactive.
City leaders are set to move on a resolution making it clear that they don't want a new ICE detention facility within their city limits. The move comes as debate is growing across Georgia over large-scale detention centers and whether local communities get a say. The resolution formally states that the city opposes any ICE detention facility operating within the city of South Fulton. It also directs the city not to provide zoning approvals, land use support, or logistical cooperation for such a facility. It also signals that the city does not intend to assist ICE operations, such as enforcement raids within their city limits. So with more on what we might expect and to talk more about the resolution, it's South Fulton Councilwoman Helen Zenobia Willis. Councilwoman Willis, we appreciate you joining us this morning. So why was this so important for South Fulton to take this big step?
Well, many of the municipalities who are facing ICE coming into their area were caught off guard. We see what's happening in Social Circle. We know that they currently have an operation in College Park, an office operation. One thing about municipalities is that we have what you call home rules, meaning that we have control over our zoning codes. We have control over what we want our area, what we want the character of our area to look like. And so we have an opportunity now to make our stance, to go on a record to say that we do not want these type of facilities in our community. We have the opportunity to go and update our zoning code to not allow for them. And then we have the opportunity to say, you know, we don't have jurisdiction over ICE. It's a federal agency. However, we would not cooperate and we would not be a part of any raids or incarceration of nonviolent immigrants in our city.
Yeah, and you mentioned College Park, which of course is very close to the city of South Fulton.
Yes.
Has there been any proposals specifically targeting South Fulton, or is this, as you mentioned, perhaps a preventative move?
There has not been any proposals at this time that we know of, but ICE don't tell anyone when they're coming into a municipality. But as we know of, there are not any proposals, but this is a proactive move. This is a proactive move for us to update our zoning code. We're going through a comprehensive development land use. We go through that update. We go through that every 5 years. So this is an opportunity for us to update our land use plan. This is an opportunity for us to go ahead and update our code to say that, you know, in our warehouse industry, we do not want to allow for the use of warehouses to be used for ICE detainee centers.
Now, Councilwoman Willis, you obviously speak to a lot of residents there in the city of South Fulton. What are they saying? Are they fearful? What are you hearing?
Our residents are concerned. Many of them are fearful. This is one of the reasons I took this move, because in one of the meetings,
All right, and it looks like got cut a little bit short, but we did get to hear several minutes of the explanation and the rationale behind the thinking of a majority of the city of South Fulton's city council members ahead of their vote last night, where they, in 5-2 fashion, passed a resolution that they say will tighten the city of South Fulton's zoning laws and make it more difficult for an ICE detention facility, an immigration detention facility, to be built within their city limits. At this point, to all of the public's knowledge and all of our knowledge, no such facility has been proposed, but you heard the councilwoman there saying that this is an effort by city leaders to, in their view, be proactive and proactively try to block any such plan from being rolled out in the future. We want to turn now to a story that's been developing all day, all afternoon here on the East Coast and all throughout the morning and midday on the West Coast. We told you about it at the top of the show, and we're going to tell you about it again right now. This is a look from the helicopter of our sister station KNBC in Los Angeles, where earlier today the FBI executed a search warrant, a pair of them at least, on 2 separate locations, one at the Los Angeles Unified School District headquarters and the other at the home of the superintendent. You're looking at the helicopter picture right now of the superintendent, Carvalho is his name, Alberto Carvalho, who's been the superintendent since 2022 in that district. He came to LA after overseeing the Miami-Dade County Public Schools District. Very limited details on what this investigation centers on, its nature, the nature of what authorities were searching for and what kind of case the evidence sought in this raid may be connected to, still not revealed. A spokesperson, Kieran McAvoy, for the U.S. Attorney's Office in L.A. did confirm those searches took place today. The district and the superintendent have not yet commented on the record on what took place. The mayor of Los Angeles said that they had, the mayor's office, I should say, to be clear, said they had no info about the search, and they noted that the district operated independently of the city government. This is the nation's second largest public school district, Los Angeles Unified School District, serving more than 500,000 students in the district. Just as we promised earlier today, we're going to promise it again right now. We're going to continue to follow these developments as they unfold in the nation's second largest public school district throughout the day today. But we want to turn now to the Winter Olympics. Sadly, they are over. But it is not too late to get ready for the Paralympics and to look back on a great Winter Olympic Games here. And it is a reminder, too, that every host city leaves a legacy. When you talk about these Olympic Games, right here in Georgia, of course, the 96 Summer Olympics, they still live on, their legacy, even in some unexpected artifacts. Our Cheryl Preheim is going to take us inside the Atlanta History Center, where the past, it is still shining like Olympic gold.
The Atlanta History Center holds countless gems from the games, pieces you can see, hear, and step back in time with. But below the surface is a treasure trove of stories from the summer Atlanta welcomed the world. Deep in the archives, Vice President of Collections Paul Crater guides us through Atlanta's Olympic time capsule.
These are chairs that President Clinton and Hillary Clinton sat in during the opening ceremonies. The Atlanta Committee for Olympic Games basically collected anything that was branded with the Olympic logo.
And we do mean anything.
Everything's branded. Bud Light, Coca-Cola, McDonald's. The corporate buy-in and involvement of the Olympic Games. There were major sponsors involved that made it so that the Games could be funded in ways that didn't involve the taxpayer.
Among the tchotchkes are true treasures, Olympic torches spanning decades, from London's 1948 aluminum torch to Barcelona's 92 Beauty. And then there's this one, made of Georgia pecan wood, carried by the leader of Atlanta's Olympic Committee.
This is the torch that Billy Payne used to light the flame that was attached to this in Athens.
The collection also holds prototype gold medals, signed basketballs, and bricks from Centennial Olympic Park, a vision that became the heart of the Games.
Billy Payne had one of his greatest ideas was Centennial Olympic Park, and he felt that there really needed to be a way to kind of bring everybody together for the Olympic Games, and the park was a way to do it.
For those who were there, like Paul, the memories are as vivid as these artifacts.
It really kind of felt cool that you were a resident of the city that everybody was coming to for this big event.
From models to medals,
volleyball, it's a silver plate.
Pins and park bricks.
A Coke can.
Every item holds the history of Atlanta's Olympic movement.
You never know. That's the thing. You just never know what you'll find.
Cheryl Preheim, 11Alive News.
And we've got much more coming up in just a few moments when 11 Alive News at 4 begins. We'll see you there.